you have to love yourself for like you and like who you are at the core. When everything's stripped away from you and you see what's left, like who you that's where who you are really matters.
Hello everyone, welcome back to MANO Beyond Cancer. This is a space dedicated to all people with a liver cancer experience. My name is Carmen Monge, and in here we interview cancer survivors from around the world, and we learn about our experiences. Hello everyone, today we are with Alique Topalian. She is a cancer survivor that she's going to tell us a little bit about her. Hi Alique.
Hi, how are you?
The first question is quite easy. Who are you? What are you passionate about right now? And what is your favorite food?
My name's Alique Topalian. I two-time cancer survivor. I had acute myeloid leukemia. I also am a researcher in survivorship and supportive services. So I focus a lot on really anything having to do with patient quality of life and especially like long term. And something I'm passionate about right now, I think is really this kind of focus I've been doing in oncology primary care. It's kind of a newer area of the field, but basically, a lot of times cancer survivors don't have good primary care providers who actually know about late term effects or long term effects. Some treatments they might make you at risk for developing other cancers or heart disease. And having primary care providers who know that and are on the lookout for it and able to help you, I think is so important. And that's been kind of one of my favorite areas I've been like working in research wise right now. And my favorite food is probably pasta of any kind, all kinds. I love it no matter the form. I'm so bad for the carbs, but I love them.
Something that I want to ask you, because I know that you work with adolescent and young adults cancer patients. I know that you know many, but how can you describe them?
That's a good question. I would say across the board, especially in our childhood survivors and AYE survivors, I would say they're resilient. Our childhood survivors, it's interesting because when I think about how I grew up after being diagnosed the first time, like it's really hard to kind of remember a life before cancer. And I feel like it made it that cancer was like kind of always part of my like underlying identity. It's just something that had happened when I was so young. I didn't really think of life before that. And, it kind of shaped my path. Like I knew I wanted to go into a health related field. Originally, I really wanted to be a therapist. Didn't end up that way, but I did end up in going into the public health kind of side of things and health education. I think it kind of sets this trajectory, like going through it at such a young age that you almost have this like level of like resilience like built into you, or like you've had so much like medical trauma at such a young age that I think it kind of changes your perspective when you are looking at other kids your age. I feel like you have to grow up a bit faster than a lot of kids typically do. In the adolescent young adult space, it's so hard because for the kids, you're young and you grow up, but when you're an adolescent young adult, you're like right in the heart of setting up the rest of your life. And then, you get a cancer diagnosis, and the kind of interjection that it puts in your life, I think just really changes everything in a way that's, I don't know, you're not necessarily there yet in childhood. Like you're still with your parents, you're not your own primary caregiver. Like, there's all these different things. I think it makes it kind of hard because I think for us AYAs, we get I mean, I know something that's been so stressful to me has kind of been like that career trajectory piece, like losing that whole year and then trying to figure out like what's going to come next. And it also really kind of like realigned my values too. Like I used to be a very bad workaholic. Like I really put my career over everything. And I don't get me wrong, I still definitely work a lot now, but I also am much better at like setting boundaries and making sure that I have like time for myself and my friends and my family and travel. I feel like it realigned me with my values. I guess I don't have the perspective of the older adult cancer survivor personally, but what I can say about them is the older cancer survivors in this space, how they have paved the way for us younger advocates. I mean, I admire them so much. Like there's so many women who I'm like, they're basically like my advocacy moms. Like I wouldn't be like the advocate that I am today if I hadn't met them and learned from them and seen, how they share their story for policy or for research and, using their voice for good. And I feel like learning from them made me who I am now.
And the next question, did you have any side effects that actually you liked about having cancer?
I think my favorite side effect, if I could have kept my hair from my neck up, I would have been very happy. But like my neck down, like I love not having any hair on my body, like not having to shave my legs was like that was probably my favorite side effect out of all of them. Okay, I think the losing your hair piece of it, and then also like for some, I have a prosthetic eye from my first diagnosis. I went septic and I lost my right eye. And for some reason, when I was going through treatment the second time, like my chemo was doing something with my prosthesis. And so I couldn't wear it. And so I was bald with like one eye basically. And like I was like getting like the moon face from like all the steroids and stuff. So like gaining weight. And I feel like that made me value myself in such a different way because society typically perceives us, like especially as women, I feel like we put so much weight on what we look like and our appearance, and stripping all of that away helped me learn who I was as like a person and really just be like, wow, I actually, have a personality and like all of these other things that make me who I am. You have to love yourself for like you and like who you are at the core, not involving any of those things. And it was a hard lesson to learn, I feel. But yeah, it's like when everything's stripped away from you and you see what's left, like that's where who you are really matters.
What was the stupidest thing or dumbest thing someone have ever told you about having cancer?
I had one like last week actually, which is like so interesting. I was talking to someone and I feel like people never ask. They're like, they said, do you think your cancer is going to come back? And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, do you think you're going to die of cancer? And I was like, I hope not. Like, I don't think so, you know? And then they're like, well, if that's even something that you think about, why do you like eat food that you want? Like, why don't you just eat a really clean diet and like not have any alcohol and like exercise all the time? Like, why aren't you just doing everything that you can in your power to like make sure it doesn't come back? And I was like, well, I know people who've done everything that's in their power the whole time, and you still have no control. You still don't know what's going to happen. We can't, base all of our life on that fear. And how frequently people think like, oh, if you just eat right, or if you take this supplement, or like, these like certain things that, oh yeah, your cancer won't come back or you'll be fine. You won't have any more risk. And it's like, that's not how it works though.
This is the last question. And actually, you already responded because you don't remember too much about your first diagnosis. But is there something like, do you have a personality trait that were like this before having cancer the second time and after having cancer the second time?
There's a couple. I feel like one of them would be like tenacious. Like I'm one of those people where if I set my mind on something, I just kind of keep pushing towards it until I get it. My doctor said to my mom, oh, she's going to have different learning disabilities and she's not ever going to be like successful academically. And my mom did not like that. And she got me with special tutors and in special classes and things like that. And I went on to get my master's and my PhD. And it was a thing where like nobody can tell me what I can't do. Cause like if I work hard enough, like I'm gonna do it. And I feel like that's just something that's kind of permeated through like all areas of my life is just kind of that like perseverance and the ability to like bounce back and not let something small kind of stop you from doing what you want or like need to do.
Thank you, Ali.
Thank you for having me. And it's always so great to catch up with you.
Do you like this video? Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share with others. Thank you. Bye-bye.